to the concert thing. Right there, I'm with you, but for the audience, parallel that, make it perpendicular to the concert. Now, what's the difference with them now on that side? I got this side with the band.
They won't play that type of music. They're playing more classical music, as opposed to marching band when you can play a top 40 or
You're
you can
sitting there and listening. You're not
yes.
participating.
You're sitting there. You're participating, but you're participating in a different way. With marching band,
I got you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, with marching band, you're not stationary. You're
moving,
and that all depends on what type of marching band it is, because you have traditional high stepping, and then you have your core bands, your core style bands. So
giving us a class. That's what I'm asking.
So your core style bands, they mainly they have something called the pit, where you have the guys and the girls that are playing the xylophones. They normally have the equipment that's on wheels that you will roll, and they will stay stationary.
Okay.
While the band behind them will be moving. They have, these big scaffolds and whatnot, and they're actually doing a theme of, let's just say, Aladdin or something like that.
Okay.
So now that's the theme of their show. So they're now depicting what Aladdin will look like on the
So
field.
the thing that's in the pit, I've been to some things with the missus in the then up top they got strings or something.
Yes, they're doing
Okay.
a lot of that. Your traditional high stepping bands are when you have the drum majors running onto the field. You have the certain song that you will hear being played on the radio. You have the fancy footwork and dance steps that goes along with the
That's
songs.
not like what Slim and FAMU and them do, is
That's
it?
what Florida A&M. Yes, Florida A&M, Southern.
When the guy runs out there
yes.
Okay.
So you have that. You have all types of everything just going on.
Okay.
With traditional, you have the 90-degree leg lift. With the foot pointed. Because
I have seen.
Yes,
something.
but you also have that style that came from University of Michigan and Michigan State, because those schools were Big Ten, PWIs.
Big Ten. Mm-hmm.
So Big Ten schools. So that style came from them first, and then when the predominantly HBCU bands started getting their marching bands together, they took it to another level. They took their style and they took it to another level, and then the high school bands eventually latched onto it.
With their alumnus coming back.
Over time, because once the high school bands got established, there was somewhere that the students that were in college came from. So now whatever material they learned in college, they will bring it back to their high school.
So that's what you do?
To help. Yes, and that's what I did.
That's what I did. Now, why don't, or is there in the process something of that magnitude happening in the city of Newark or even Essex County? Or is that something that cannot occur because there's not enough band members?
It can occur. It's just that right now in today's era, it's a lot of there's a lot of HBCU influence going on, as opposed to when I was in high school in the 90s. We never really spoke about, or nobody never talked about any of the HBCUs coming up here and recruiting us to go to school. Mm-hmm. And you don't have a lot of band directors in the city that went to a HBCU.
Well, how did you get to Virginia State if they didn't come up here?
Well, correction, I went to Norfolk State.
Norfolk State. I'm sorry.
Norfolk State.
I always do that to you, too.
Yeah. So, Virginia State is our rival, Virginia State and Hampton. However, my story started because my high school band director went to Tennessee State.
Okay.
And we wasn't really shown a lot of HBCU footage like that. Okay. So my cousin, who was a flag twirler at Barronshire High School, she applied to Norfolk State. She was 3 years ahead of me. So by the time I got to my senior year, she was already pretty much in her third year down at Norfolk State. I never heard of Norfolk State. Never seen no pictures, never even seen a marching band.
You heard of Virginia State, though?
I heard of Virginia State.
But you never heard of Norfolk?
No. Never heard of Norfolk State. Never heard of, like, you hear of them, but you don't know anything about.
Okay,
I
okay.
never ever heard of no one's Norfolk State at all. And she said, well, you should come down here and get on the band. So I was like, well, I never even seen them or heard of them. But I applied anyway because my cousin was there.
Right, right.
And, so my mother was like, oh, after she graduate, X, Y, and Z. So I wound up going down there, and I wound up going to applying. I got accepted, so I went to EOF, met up with the band director at the time, God rest his soul, Owsley Francis Walker, shout out to him. That was my first band director. And I went down there, went through band camp, and I'm just like, what?
What is band camp? For those who don't know, is it like football camp?
Yes, sir, but 50,000 more.
Really?
More intense.
And more
intense.
More people too?
More people, well, depending on how big your program is. So my first year marching on the Spartan Legion, we was 167 members. So that was my first time ever seeing 18 tubas. That's the big instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the tuba line.
Yeah. So that was my first time, and I'm just like, oh my God, what is this? And we out there in 100-degree weather with combat boots on. And so the movie Drumline is really telling you that's exact. In the rain and all that other stuff, push-ups, yes.
Really?
Yes. Running.
I didn't know that.
Running, lots of conditioning. You only drunk water. You really had to curb your appetite. Like it was really, really, it was really an eye-opener. It was a life-changing experience. And you had 2 weeks to get yourself together for your first football game because school starts in August.
Or they cut
down
you?
South.
Could you cut?
You won't check off. You won't
Check
check
off.
off. Check off meaning if you don't know your material, you're not going on the field. You'll be on the sideline with your uniform on. You won't check off. So the main thing is to check off so you can know your material.
That's deep.
To get onto the field. And then plus, a lot of people were on scholarship.
I was going to ask you, could they take your scholarship?
Yeah, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
So if you want to check off, that's a demerit?
Well, that's not really a demerit. That's just because you're lacking in something at that particular time. Whether it's your music, because you get checked off for everything.
But your grades.
But your grades.
Your grades in school is one thing. This on the field is another, like football.
Yeah, it's different. But if you are a music major and you are on scholarship, it's very important that you do what you're supposed to do throughout school.
So the extracurriculum thing is an essential or it's not?
Well, in marching band, if you are a music major at one particular time, you can march 2 years out of your 4 years of college.
Okay.
And then the other 2 years, you didn't have to march, but you still are responsible for doing wind ensemble, concert band.
You got to get up there and perform somewhere.
Yes, you have to get your performance in.
Okay.
So, but with marching band, we're always told, and even at Shabazz, we're the most hardest working organization in the school because when football season is over,
your season's still going. Yeah,
we keep going.
I just thought about that.
We keep going.
How many how many schools in the city are on it like that?
It's not many because it's
every high school doesn't have a band now, correct? Well, what do you consider a band?
A band
5 people? I'm being facetious.
No. I mean, a marching band composes of your different units and your different groups. So you have your drum line, you have your instrument section, and then you have your auxiliary section. That comprises of a marching band. So your auxiliary is your twirlers, your flags, your dancers.
Okay.
Whatever additional squads, your drill team or your pom-poms. Then you have your instrument section, your trombones, baritones, tubas, clarinets, piccolos, flutes.
What'd you say?
Piccolos, flutes.
Piccolos or pickles?
Piccolo. Piccolo. Piccolo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And then, you have your drum line. And that comprises of your marching band. Then you have, like football, it's compatible to football, you have your band director, which is your head coach. And then the other guys that's in charge of, all
squads. I got you.
You have now your assistants. So you have your percussion instructors, you have your assistant band director, and then you have your advisors over that section. And then within that group, you have your student leaders. So you have your drum major, you have your captain of whatever squad, you have your co-captain of whatever squad, and then you have the squad itself.
It's all of that?
It's all of that because it has to be structured.
Ooh.
It has to be structured.
It's like a company.
It's definitely a company because at the end of the day, the company, when they go in front of the board is your crowd. You have to produce. And if you don't produce,
it comes down the line,
comes
everybody
right back down
messed
the line.
up. But it starts with you because you're going to take it.
Yes.
But then you got to.
Yes.
Oh.
So at the end of the day, I always tell my group that you're only as good as your last performance. Because and if you mess up in that performance, you pray that whoever you messed up in front of, they see you the next time and you have your stuff together.
Oh. Okay, now.
You have your stuff together, especially if you are a pretty decent marching band and everybody knows you to be, you're going to come with it. That's the agonizing part because you cannot go backwards. You have to either stay where you are or you got to keep climbing.
And what if you fell short? You got to make up for it?
You have to make up for it some way, somehow. You have to go back to the drawing board because there's no room for error in marching band. Football, you could get, it's halftime, it's timeout.
Readjust.
It's timeout. You can redo that play without anybody knowing it. And then you can say, okay, my head is in the game, I can fix it. With marching band, anybody that's performing, anybody in the arts that's performing, whether you're on the stage dancing, chorus line, whatever the case may be, if you mess up, it's something called a word. It's a word that we have, which is called recover. And you have to recover to make it seem like nothing didn't happen. Nothing. Your hair could come out, and you have to keep going. Your hairpiece, your shoe could fly off, and we've seen that happen.
Keep going.
You keep going. If a heel come off your boot,
you get it afterwards.
You get it afterwards. If your baton drop or your flag drop, you pick it up real fast and keep going, or somebody on the side will
Don't
pick
bring
it up.
no attention to yourself.
No attention to yourself. You
to the others, I should say.
Absolutely. You still got to keep going.
Well, let me ask you this here. Is it possible that they could congregate something where it's not even a competition, it's just a exuberant extravaganza of showmanship? How you like that?
Well, that has
been all,
done. Or the
like say
bands.
school stadium or somewhere where they just all doing their thing.
Well, in the past that has happened. That's when everyone had a marching band.
How long ago?
We would say
20.
No, over 10 years.
Okay.
Over 10 years ago. But a lot of people, a lot of high schools, not just in this area, but in various urban areas, had a hard time after COVID recovering. Because once you have your children locked in, now they're locked in, and now it's a consistent routine coming.
Well-oiled machine.
Everyday practice. This is the time. Okay, I'm learning. I'm getting it.
So then it stops.
When it stops,
you got to start from the beginning.
You got to start all over and try to find that person that was already captivated, because what captivates them now is the phones and the games.
Ooh, interest is different.
Yes, yes, because that's something that, although you say you way ahead of me, in some instances, you're not too far from me, because we have a lot of things that did not change because the world did not change. The world is different now. So we can't just say that the kids is different. Yes, we know that, but the world itself is different. So with marching band, we have a lot of things that a lot of factors that plays into why programs are small now, or people do not want to come to that school, whatever. It could be the neighborhood shift. It could be some activity that have nothing to do with the high school that's outside the high school, which will affect the program, because that could be a potential band member that's walking with their parent, riding on the bus, and they say, "Oh, I want to go to that school and be on that band." And the first thing the parent says, "No, you're not. Look what's going on around here." So, and that has happened to a lot of programs.
What can we do to combat that?
There's nothing that we can do.
Really?
No, there's nothing we could do. I mean, unless the neighborhood itself change and people change, and people have the mindset. If people invest into the program, and because you have a lot of parents that would say they don't see the benefit of marching band, they don't see it, or you have, let's just say, that older brother in the house, that older uncle. Nah, you go play that football. Nah, you ain't gonna be in no band. That thing like that, and you don't know that.
So there has been a